What you just heard was the big tapping lick at the end of the solo from my latest single, On the Brink of Madness. And I'm going to go into how I played this particular lick, but also how I built it. There's 3 main tapping approaches I'm using in this particular lick, and I want to go into each of these in depth, give you examples of how to learn these different techniques and play them, but also how you can string them together to build your own cool tapping licks like this one. So let's check it out. The first part of the lick from the solo looks like this. And this is based on a major 7 arpeggio. The basic shape is this. Now I'm actually going to shift up 1 fret to explain this. This is using an E flat major 7 arpeggio. We're going to go up to the key of E, nice guitar key, and make it a little bit clearer for explaining. So we have an E major 7 arpeggio. We're playing 3 notes per string. So I'm basically taking a sweep picking shape. And anytime there's a single note on a string, I'm shifting those to being tapped on the previous string. So now our first 3 notes, instead of, they look like this. And then I'm hammering on from nowhere with my first finger, and that's really the trickiest part of playing any of these tapping licks, is hammering on from nowhere with your left hand. And then again on the high E string. And I can play straight up and down this, and it's going to be 4 beats of 4/4 as 16th notes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E. So it's a perfect example for practicing. You can basically do it over and over again with the metronome. And once you have a feel for the hammering on from nowhere, then the rest of these licks will become a little bit easier to play. Now, I'm not using a hairband here, and I'm using a lot of distortion, and that's on purpose because I want to be able to get good at muting. Otherwise, these sorts of licks become impossible. You can see that I'm actually touching the string with my arm and my hand as I go up to keep these lower strings muted, as well as keeping my index finger pretty flat on my fretting hand so that I'm not getting any noise above where I'm playing. But muting is always tricky with these kinds of licks, so that's one major thing to focus on. Now we can play other types of 7th arpeggios as well. In fact, the first one I ever learned was a minor 7 shape. And I learned that one from Michael Romeo of Symphony X. He's the one I kind of got these arpeggios from originally. Does them all the time. Really cool sounds. Obviously one of my favorite guitarists. And I can do other 7th arpeggios as well. So there's 5 major types of 7th arpeggios or 7th chords that you'll find in most music. There are other ones as well. But we have major 7, dominant 7, minor 7 flat 5 or half diminished, and then fully diminished. So I can do all of these off of the same root note of E. There's major 7. You do dominant 7. There it is. Minor 7. Minor 7 flat 5. And then fully diminished. And I can put all of these back to back as well. This is a very tricky exercise, but definitely worth doing to kind of learn these shapes. I'm not sure I could even do that much faster than that right now. It's definitely weird to switch those shapes based off the same note, but a really, really good exercise. Another exercise I really like is to take this through a major scale. So in a major scale, there are 7th chords that are built off of each note. So in the key of C, we have C, major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G dominant 7, A minor 7, B half diminished, and then back to C major 7. I'm going to play these arpeggio shapes through the scale and slowly work my way up. This is a really good exercise. I'm working on all these different shapes, and I'm getting used to how they feel on different parts of the neck, right? Because when we're up here, it's more crammed together. When you're here, it's much more spread out. There's also a lot of tracking involved as far as like not only moving my left hand, tracking where that's going, but also tracking where my right hand is tapping. Got lost there at the end, but that's an example of how you might kind of string these arpeggios together within a key. Really good exercise. Now, of course, we can do different inversions of these arpeggios as well. These aren't as common. It's much more common to see these in root position just because the shapes are easier. But I could do this major 7 arpeggio in first inversion, for example. Same notes, but I'm starting on the 3rd of the chord G sharp in this case. The minor 7. That's a much easier shape. So those are really cool as well. You can kind of mix and match those as you go, but you're going to most commonly see these in root position. Now, of course, I don't want to just play these arpeggios straight up and down all the time. It's fun to sequence them in different ways. So for example, we'll go back to the major 7. I could go up to the G string, back down, all the way up to the E string, down to G, back up to E. So I'm not playing straight up and down. I'm kind of slowly working my way up and then slowly back down. And this goes into some of the timing things that are happening here. With a lick like this, as I start to speed it up, it becomes less of a straight metronomic, like 16th note approach, and more just a sheet of sound, like a flurry of notes that's happening over top of the beat. So I'm basically playing it as fast as I can, and I'm trying to fit it within a groove, right? I don't have a metronome or anything going right here, but I can practice it as more straight 16th notes, but once I start to speed it up, it kind of becomes a flurry where I'm just trying to hit target notes. It's definitely tricky with this particular shape, but that's kind of an idea of what you could do. You can also do, for example, sequences of 4. That's really tricky, but a very nice sound. What I'm doing in the actual lick from this solo is to add in a few extra notes from this shape. So we have our basic major 7 shape. What I'll do is add an extra note with my left hand because I have it right there. And I'll do it again on the G string and then on the high E string. So now we have 4 notes per string. And I'm just bringing these in from the scale. So there's the 9th, 9th again, and then the 6th, so the 13th. This makes this a little easier to play quicker because we have more notes on each string and adds a little bit more color from a note perspective. I'm just using the skeleton of this arpeggio though. There's the skeleton shape. And I'm filling in with extra notes. I could sequence these just like I did the other one. Something like that. I can do that with the minor arpeggio or dominant, any of them, but that's the basic technique I'm using here. One last thing I'm doing in this lick is to move my tapping note higher on the high E string. Now you can take the tapping note and move it around wherever you want during these shapes. So if we go back to that basic minor 7, let's try moving these tap notes higher, like to the 19th fret, for example. Or the 24th. It's the exact same technique, but now we're getting these really big interval jumps, which are very cool. And And I can kind of move them around as much as I want to get different sounds. In the case of the lick from my solo, I wanted that particular high note. So I moved the tap up to there. If you'd like access to the Guitar Pro and PDF files for all of these licks, you can sign up as a member on the channel today. If you sign up on the top 2 tiers, you'll get access to all of the sheet music from any of my lessons going forward. And that includes the full tablature for the song on the Brink of Madness. It's on there already. So if you want to support the channel a little bit more and get access to all of the sheet music to help you out, consider doing that today. It really does help me out a lot. The next tapping approach I want to take a look at here is playing pentatonic scales. We're going to do the same thing we did with the 7th arpeggio. So we're going to take a pentatonic box. I'm going to shift the notes on the 2nd string here to the 1st string. Play 3 notes with my left hand and 1 with the tap. So you're going to get some more stretchy shapes. Now instead of playing on 2 strings, they're all on 1 string. And I'm going to continue that idea here, and then on the top string. So I'm playing straight up and down a pentatonic scale with tapping. So there's our first position shape of these pentatonics. Just like with the arpeggios, I can do different shapes as well. The pentatonic scale has 5 boxes, so there's 5 different shapes you could use. Here's the second one, for example. These get a little bit tricky because they're so spread out. But you could work your way through all 5 boxes of the pentatonic, and I'll show a lick later where I combine 2 of them together. But let's take that sequence I used on the 7th arpeggios, and I'll do it with this pentatonic shape. Here's this lick where I'm shifting positions. So I'll start in the first shape, slide up, do this double tap idea. I'm tapping with 2 fingers. Very tricky if you haven't done it before. And I'll slide back down to the first shape. Very cool lick. In my actual solo, we ended here. So I'm going to slide up into this G minor pentatonic shape. I'm going to start on the G string, go up, tap 20 to 22 on the high E string, and back. Then I'll descend the arpeggio, tap the 19th fret on the G string, and then 17 on the A string. So that part. I'm going to slide back 1 fret for the last lick. So up to this point, and that's the 2 parts strung together. The last tapping approach we're going to look at is using octaves. So let's take the very beginning of the first shape we learned, that E major 7. But we're going to focus just on this A string part. That's just an E major arpeggio. Let's take that exact same shape, and I'm going to shift up 1 octave. So now we're starting on the 9th fret of the G string, and then 12th fret of the high E string. Now what's really tricky about these is the tracking for both hands. So I take it very slowly. This approach is almost like how a piano player would play an arpeggio. On piano, you have the same shape in each octave. 1, 2, 3, shift 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so we can kind of mimic that on guitar. These are very tricky to play fast, especially straight up and down. There's so much tracking and jumping involved. But that's the basic technique. Now let's do a couple of things to change that up a little bit. We'll take that first shape we did in the actual solo where we're adding in the extra note. I'm going to jump that up the octave. So now we have some more notes happening. Let's see if I sequence it. Gives me a much better shot of pulling these things off a little bit more cleanly since I'm not jumping around quite as much. Of course, I could do this with the minor arpeggio as well. Here's a lick that mixes a few of these ideas together. We'll go up in the arpeggio shape with the extra added notes. And then we'll go up the octave version of that. So we're doing the arpeggio, octave, very cool sound, and you can see I'm going high and then I'm going even higher on the next one. So you can mix and match these ideas in some really interesting ways. Now this octave idea has almost endless possibilities because you can use any shape and do it in an octave. So for example, I can go up this shape, slide to a higher shape, and come down in octaves on that shape. We could do a minor version of that as well. Here's the actual lick from the solo. So I'm taking this shape and moving it up an octave. The chord that's happening here is like a D major 7 with a sharp 5, or a D major chord with a sharp 5. So I'm basically playing third of D up to 5, and then there's your sharp 5. I'm doing that up an octave. I'm circling around on the second string. Up one more octave, and then I slide up to a different shape. Over the same chord. What do we got? A, B flat, D flat, and D. Then I move that shape down an octave. Then go to this shape, which is, what's that? F sharp and F, and E flat and D flat. So all together, that part. And that's coming right after that big pentatonic idea. So this entire lick put together, we have the arpeggio part, we have the pentatonic part, and then there's the octave part. Arpeggio, pentatonic, octave. Then there's also this legato figure as a pickup into it. And here it is up to speed with the tabs on screen. So obviously this is a big, crazy long lick with all kinds of things happening. But when I'm building these sorts of licks, I'm thinking about these smaller ideas, right? We have arpeggios, pentatonics, octaves, and I'm blending them all together into one big, crazy lick. Now, it's easier said than done, and I've done this quite a bit over the years, so I'm gotten better at kind of building these sorts of licks and also playing them. There's a lot happening here from a technical perspective. There's a lot happening harmonically, too. I'm kind of moving with the chords. It's difficult rhythmically. I'm having to time exactly where I'm tapping certain things, and it's definitely sort of floating over the beat. So it takes a while to kind of get some of these licks down. But if you kind of work with these basic building blocks and start from there, you can start to string these ideas together in really cool ways. And what I love about this technique is there's almost infinite possibilities as far as ways you can combine these ideas together. For example, here are a few other licks from some of my other solos. Here's one from Escape Velocity. Here's a big one from the great Stereopticon. And here's probably the craziest one I've ever written. This is from my song Anamorphosis. I'd recommend practicing these examples and then trying to string some of these ideas together to create your own cool sounding tapping licks. And if you enjoyed this lesson, subscribe, hit the bell notification, like, comment, share, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, stay proggy.